Write Night is a talk show with published authors, writers, and content creators discussing both the creative and technical sides of writing, as well as the industry surrounding it, from novels to screenplays to comics and more. And now, here's your host, author Travis I. Sivart.
Welcome to Write Night. This is one of my older interviews from Sounds of Steam from 2012 through 2014, or one of the interviews I did at a convention along the way. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a little bit of retro interview from myself and others. We are here with steampunk author Wendy Callahan. Hey, Wendy.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Welcome to the Steampunk Sound Studio. Do you like how we did the decor?
I do. I think it's lovely.
You've got a couple steampunk books. Why don't you start out by letting everybody know what they are?
Okay. Well, I actually do have one currently available. It's called Heart and Fire. Mm-hmm. That is a story of a courtesan who kind of ends up in a rather difficult position of being dumped by the king she was mistress to.
Yeah, I hate when that happens.
That's an awkward situation, getting dumped, and yet you still have to work for him.
Yeah.
She ends up as bodyguard to his newest mistress, and that is rather difficult. And I do have one coming out February 1st. Mm-hmm. Is called The Chronos Clock, and I'm looking forward to that because I think it's probably the best one I've written yet.
Nice. Now, is that a new series, or is that a continuation?
This is the start of a series called The Aetheric Artifacts, and it's about a woman with rather special powers, and she uses them to basically solve some mysteries here and there and save the world, annoy her fiancé, things like that.
Now, when it comes to writing a mystery, I'm just curious, your formula for doing that, did you start at the end and work backwards and then write the flesh over the bones? Or how did you build your mystery story when writing it?
Well, I should say it's less of a mystery than an adventure, but there is some mystery to it.
Okay.
But I start from the beginning and I just write the story. Okay.
Yeah, with mysteries... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and then I inject a lot of snark because I enjoy humor.
There's nothing like a good, healthy dash of snark to spice things up.
Ain't that the truth?
Absolutely. Chris, Wendy, Chris. So, let's see here. Right, I was going to ask more about your series. The steampunk world you write in, one of your own creation or a historic variation of our current world?
It is an alternative historic Victorian London, the whole world is included though, but it starts off in London, England, and the second book takes people into an alternative America from New York City to San Francisco. I'm working on that one right now.
Now, I suspect it's a little easier for you to write about London considering how close you are to it for the past couple years.
I wouldn't necessarily say that because I've had to do quite a bit of research online and in history and such to make it a little more authentic, although seeing it certainly does help, and London is gorgeous. I haven't gotten out there as much as I'd like, but it's beautiful.
What about the slang and the terminology? Because, for example, I've read some British authors as well as American authors, of course, and you can definitely feel the difference in slang in certain terms, not to mention 2 quotation marks versus 1 quotation marks around speech, but putting that aside. So, did you just go back to a strictly Victorian accent, or do you actually have a different Victorian accent for Americans versus English?
I've done quite a bit of research to try to make the language as authentic as possible in the dialogue and in any descriptions of the places that the people visit. Many of the places I mentioned are real. They really exist. Certain pubs and such that I bring up, all the streets I mentioned, they're all real.
Nice. So is there a difference in your English and your American accents?
Do you mean in the story or just in general? In
the story.
I don't bring any American characters into it, I must say, even while the characters are in America in the second book. They're really bringing the Americans into it.
I don't blame you. Americans are jerks, especially in that time era. Wow. You have the one other book besides this one that's coming out. Is that correct, or do you have a third one?
I have a couple of other books out. They're more urban fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I really prefer to concentrate on the steampunk fantasy, though. I just have so much more fun with it.
Why is that? What's the difference for you?
I think part of the difference is playing with the gadgets I get to incorporate in the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Inventing things in my mind that
might actually work.
Yes.
Yeah.
I enjoy that.
I don't blame you. I've done a few things like that myself, and at first I'm like, oh, how can I make them? Oh, there they are. That's really easy, actually. Ooh, and it actually could work. I can see this.
If we actually invented these things, I wonder if we could market them somehow.
I don't know. Mine things are like tasers and air guns and, like air-powered dart guns, that sort of thing.
Things we overgrown children will all enjoy.
That's right. That's right. I actually, in one of the stories, I have a steampunk taser. And, so I don't know if inventing these would actually be the best idea.
I was online last night looking up things for to put on my pumpkin because I carved pumpkins.
Uh-huh.
And I was looking for Tesla-themed things, and one of the pictures came up was a Tesla coil gun. And it was like this giant rifle that had a Tesla coil in the end that was shooting out electricity, and it looked really cool.
Nice. I wonder what kind of power source that takes and how long it lasts.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just an image that I came across. But that would be something that I would like to see in practice, though I don't know how practical it would be.
Now you could attach it straight to your pumpkin.
There you go.
Can have a Tesla gun. That'd be awesome.
Pumpkin.
That's right. What do you think about the other authors in the steampunk genre that are out there right now, Wendy?
I'm a huge fan of Gail Carriger. I really enjoy her Parasol Protectorate, and I'm waiting for her finishing school series. I really enjoy Leah Habel. She wrote a zombie love story called Dearly Departed, and that was received kind of in a mixed way because it's the way she did it was she really kind of mixed genres, a bit of steampunk, a bit of neo-Victorianism, and so much more thrown in there. But it's so cool.
So have you read like Sense, Sensibility, and Sea Monsters or Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies?
I keep looking at those books, being a Jane Austen fan, and I've been reticent about purchasing them.
Well, from what I understand, it's the original text with additional text added in.
At least with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. I hear that one's better than the Sea Monsters one.
I flipped through one of them at a store a few years ago, and I thought, I'm not sure if I can commit to this yet.
Now, Gail, I'm actually on her second book, and it's really fun. It's light and it's easy, but there's enough to the characters and the story that I think we've discussed this before, and we both agree it's pretty much aimed towards female readers, but as a guy, I'm enjoying the hell out of it anyway.
It's a great series. Like you said, it's light and fun. I like the flamboyant characters
Yes.
as well.
Yes. Well, I'm getting to know the French woman very well, and I'm about halfway through, so I don't know how that relationship quirk ends up by the end of this book, but I'm very curious, without giving any spoilers. Do you remember the character I'm talking about?
Oh, yes, I do. I remember her very well.
Just checking. And, Gail, I have not directly interacted with her. I have interacted with her on Twitter and Facebook, and she seems really nice. She actually responded to things as opposed to just ignoring them, and very sweet.
I would love to meet up with her one day at a convention or a book signing or something. I would really just love to get her signature on the whole series since I have it.
Didn't you have some sort of interaction with her also?
Mostly via Twitter, Facebook here and there. She seems very sweet, though, but I'm sure she is just inundated with fans and people who love her.
I'm sure she is. It's looking at the pictures of her at conventions and whatnot, she obviously doesn't mind getting in front of a camera with them and whatnot. And I love her kind of Victorian 1950s look.
Yes, when I look at her, she always has that retro vintage thing going on, kind of a mix. It's interesting.
It is, and it's kind of like my grandmother dressing up like her grandmother. My grandmother's grandmother, in other words. So yeah, there's like a couple generations all in one outfit there on a very modern woman. So what about classic authors? What's your take on these guys?
Oh my goodness, that's a good question, because I think a lot of young readers don't necessarily go back to the classic authors, but then we do hear a lot about Jules Verne, which of course I think people kind of hold him up as like the granddaddy of steampunk in a way.
The same way that Tolkien is granddaddy of, fantasy.
Yes. I like Jules Verne very much, and I expect my son to read him. I get my son to read classics anyway. I think there's some authors that kind of cross genres a bit. I think certain Gothic type authors, maybe along the lines of Mary Shelley with Frankenstein. I
agree.
They're kind of crosses genres, and people don't consider that.
I definitely think Frankenstein is, and it was written in 1817 and published in 1819, 60 years before, quote, quote, steampunk came into fruition. And she definitely hit the nail on the head with the automated man and the science technology thing going on.
And this is a good time of year to revisit those sorts of stories as well. Halloween's a great time to go back to some of those classics. I think some of them are a little creepier than what we see today.
They had the anticipation, the suspense, instead of the in-your-face violence. And they definitely had they tried to humanize the monsters. In Mary Shelley Frankenstein's book, he was human, and he was poetic deep down in his soul, and it's not like you see in the movies. As a matter of fact, Bela Lugosi only did not speak in Frankenstein because they didn't like the sound of his voice for the monster, so they took his lines away and made him growl and groan.
Aww.
Yeah,
and his brain was Abby something.
Yes. Something else that I like to talk about, especially with authors, is the electronic movement for books. I myself am a paper book guy. I like to feel the book and not necessarily sniff it or lick it like some folks, but the electronic versions just don't have I like to see how much I've read, how much I have, etc. What do you think?
I love books in paperback and hardcover, and I'll probably never go to ebooks. But I think it's good that the option exists for the people who prefer it. I
agree. If it's another way to get the material out there, and I don't mean to make money off of it, I mean to get the material out there, then it should be available.
Yes.
But again, I'm not going to impress any geek chick by showing her the size of my hard drive. I've got to show her an actual library.
Nowadays, it would be the size of your Kindle or your Nook or whatever else is out there.
I heard you mention the other day that tea in England is significantly different from tea here in the States.
It is. I think in the States, we're accustomed to things like Lipton tea, and that's quite bitter tasting. The tea here, even before you've added any milk or sugar, is a lot smoother. The flavor is more mellow than quite a bit of what we find in the U.S. I definitely prefer what they have over here.
When you go to a restaurant there and order tea, can you actually order a certain brand or style, or do they just give you, here's tea?
I've never thought to ask. Usually they just bring out a pot full of tea. When I go somewhere and I want to order something specific, it used to be alcohol. Obviously, it hasn't been alcohol for the past month.
Perhaps not obvious for everyone else. Go ahead, and if you care to share, go ahead.
Well, having a baby, so no drinking for a while.
She sits near drunk people and smells their breath. It's really embarrassing.
It's terrible.
Finding the homeless guy on the park bench, buying him a bottle, going, go ahead, I'll be right here.
Well, fortunately, my husband is a big fan of all the ales and ciders that they have here. So when we go out to the pub, he will try something new every single time. I'm not a fan of cider. I'm a beer girl, just straight up. Give me a Sam Adams and I'm happy. But I'll always take a little sip of whatever he's trying.
See, I'm loving ciders because they are smooth. It is like apple juice that you get drunk off of for me, and that's kind of because I drink everything slow, so this goes down very quick. Woo!
If you visit here, there will be plenty for which you to get drunk off of. It's just...
My buddy in the Isle of Wight says within 5-minute walk of his front door, there are 16 different pubs.
Oh, yes. We live in a tiny village here near the air base, and there are a couple pubs in this little tiny village alone. 3 or 4 of them just down the street. So they're everywhere.
See, that's so nice. If you're a pub person, and it's horrible if you're not. So there you go.
Pubs aren't nice for drinking, though. The one that we frequent, you go in there, you can order lunch and dinner, and the food is wonderful.
And but you can't enjoy a pipe afterwards unless you go outside, because I believe England has banned all public smoke or indoor public smoking.
Yeah, I haven't been in a place yet where anybody's been smoking, so I guess so. Since I don't smoke, I don't pay attention. Isn't that terrible?
No, not at all. It's absolutely, you shouldn't have to pay attention. I don't smoke cigarettes, but I do enjoy pipes and the occasional cigar. But even when people did allow smoking, they often didn't allow you to smoke those, so you shouldn't have to notice. That's all there is to it.
I like the smell of pipes and cigars, though. Do like that.
I do, too. I remember I was talking to Steampunk Boba Fett at the last convention I went to, and he gave me a big ol' hug, lifted me off the ground, this big, huge guy, and just a happy fella. And he was like, "Oh, you smell like a tobacco store." And I'm like, "Oh, so sorry about that," because I was wearing my leather long coat and everything. He's like, "No, that's a compliment. You smell great."
And see, if I saw Boba Fett, I'd probably freak out and fangirl squeal because out of everybody in the Star Wars universe, I have a crush on Boba Fett.
Well, this is Steampunk Boba Fett, and he wears a kilt. And he is totally steampunked out. And on top of that, he's a great guy. I mean, he will stop and talk to you and hang out for a couple minutes and laugh. He's a good guy. I hope to have him on the show one day. And maybe if I do, I'll bring you back on. And just everything he says, you can squeal right after it.
And then you post many photos of him in his kilt as well.
Yeah. I will make sure I send a friend suggestion between the two of you on Facebook, because he posts a lot of cute pictures anyway. Not just of himself, but there was this one with him and a balloon. Oh my God, it was great.
Such a fun balloon.
It was hard to see the rest of the picture, but besides just him with the balloon, there happened to be 2 young ladies, one on each side of him, laying on the floor, clutching his legs, and oh God, what a nice balloon. Anyhow.
Looking at the balloon, I'm sure.
It was shiny. So, speaking of things that make babies and yourself, have you gone to many steampunk events? And where this is going is towards kids and steampunk, because I want to ask your opinion on that.
I have not had the opportunity to attend any, unfortunately, because I only got involved in steampunk, a couple or 3 years ago, whenever I met my husband, that random guy that I married. And we were busy with moving, leaving Korea, going back to the States, then coming to England. So there hasn't been a lot of opportunity for me to attend those, but I want to. And gosh, I would love to bring my eldest son, because he is going on 10, and I think he'd enjoy something like that very much.
So what kind of things would you hope to find at a steampunk event or convention to involve your child with?
I think because there's such a scientific, technological, a huge technological aspect to steampunk, I would enjoy something where my son could go in and kind of touch and use things, little demo items, almost like a museum or something, like a museum of science in a way. I would like something like that where he could see how things work. I think it would be great for him because he's very mathematically inclined, very scientifically inclined, and very much into art. And all those things kind of come together just for somebody who enjoys engineering, architecture, things like that.
Right.
He would get a kick out of that sort of
thing.
In
April, I think it was, I went to Cincinnati to the Steampunk Empire Symposium, and they actually had something similar to that, which I didn't actually go into the room, shame on me, but they had a room of oddities where they had different things displayed. I don't know if you were allowed to touch them, but you may have been, but yeah, it had different people's inventions, whether it was historic references or something they just cobbled together. And for smaller children, they had a room with a lot of toys and craft stuff, and 3 harried young 18 to 20-year-old women staring at the door hoping to leave for the younger children.
I know how that feels.
Yeah, well, as a parent, I can do that with one kid in the room, let alone 20 strangers' children, so... So what direction do you think steampunk is heading in? What's your opinion on that from what you've seen?
It's definitely building momentum, and it's so popular right now that I'm not sure if it's going to get more popular and then be sort of like a bubble that bursts, or if it's going to stay on a pretty even keel and not necessarily get terribly popular, because I know a lot of people adamantly hate it.
Really?
Yes, I actually know people who say that all the time. I hate steampunk, and that's fine. That's fine. You know, we all like our own things. But I'm hoping it stays popular without getting too mainstream. Because
I'd be happy with the slow grow.
Yes.
The way
how
Renaissance...
do you feel about Lantern City, which is that new steampunk show that's supposed to be coming very soon? I don't know that they have a specific air date yet.
Bruce Boxleiter is doing that, isn't he?
I believe so, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Any thoughts on that, Wendy? Or
I need to look that up, because is that going to be on American television?
I believe so.
Probably.
I know NBC, I think, is also working on a Tom Sawyer Huck Finn, when they're adults, steampunk adventure type series.
Yeah.
And of course, these are channels we can't get over here. So I'm hoping that these shows, if they're starting in 2013 or something like that, we'll be able to catch them once we get back to the States, because we return and settle for good in the States next June, roughly.
Nice.
I'd like to check those shows out, because that sounds interesting.
Well, they're in production now, so I don't think they'll be airing this year. I think if they air, it'll be next fall, or maybe Lantern City will come in a late season, half-season type thing in January. I don't know.
Well, the website for Lantern City is lanterncitytv.com, and you can go and sign up for, their little, email things, and they've got a gallery of photos and...
Well, I just pulled it up. I don't watch a heck of a lot of television, and I don't know why. It's just not something we do often, although we watch, because we're complete geeks, we do watch Star Trek Voyager every night.
Star Trek had period episodes in the original series.
Yes. Oh, yeah. So the times that they've...
There was a couple of next-gen episodes where Data was playing Sherlock Holmes, and they do a couple of those where Moriarty becomes a sentient hologram and tries to take over the Enterprise. I remember
those are actually very good episodes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
I remember that, too. Well, I've seen the original series, The Next Generation, and now my husband, he got me turned on to Voyager.
We're watching that now, my son and I, yeah. And Chris, weren't you showing some pictures to me the other day of where somebody had photoshopped the Star Trek? Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, crap. Where'd I go? Someone actually built a model of Voyager, but steampunked it out. So it's all... it's all copper plated, and they put the nacelles are giant coils and
awesome.
Yeah,
it's a really cool picture. I saw that. Yeah.
Chris, you also showed me these other pictures where they did vintage photos of the original crew in steampunk era type scenarios, such as with the period bicycles, and
there's Spock behind a small steam engine. McCoy holding his doctor bags, and Scotty by another different engine. And
I think one of them, isn't it the cylinder-type record player thing, where before records were flat discs, they were the cylinders?
There's also, they did a steampunk tricorder that looks really cool. It's all made out of wood with all the buttons. They redid pin emblem and put gears in the inside of the little, Star Trek A symbol with wings coming off of it. It's cool looking.
That's nice. I think it'd be really cool to see somebody totally steampunk out a Star Trek outfit and head to a convention dressed like that. Do you imagine a nice steampunk Borg?
Oh, that'd be really cool. Borg would go really well with steampunk, actually.
It would. What were you saying, Wendy?
I was just saying that would be really cool. I agree with that, especially 7 of 9.
All the men were gaga about her. It's, I don't think it was for her personality.
Going gaga is an inefficient activity.
Oh, here's a fun image that I will post to the Facebook page. It's someone who made like a Star Trek corset with the uniform red with the checker and put it in a skirt. And
Nice. Yeah, we'll have to find some more cool stuff like this, and because I think a steampunk Klingon, come on, that'd be awesome too.
What about the Ferengi then? What would they sell? I guess they would have to sell gears and goggles and whatnot.
Oh, aether sensors and detectors and whatnot, and yeah, phlogiston generators. I know what I can ask, because there's probably a lot of authors in the steampunk genre and whatnot that are looking to get into it. Did you self-publish at all, or did you go straight through an agent, publisher, etc.?
Went straight through publishers.
No agent?
And no, I did do the agent query dance for a while, and it was quite a roller coaster, but I think it's worth doing it. A lot of people talk about how difficult it is to get an agent, and it is difficult. But I think everybody should try it, because you never know what might come of it.
Mm-hmm.
But then after that didn't quite work out, and I didn't get an agent, and I didn't want to query for the rest of my life, I finally just went to the publishers instead.
Mm-hmm. When you went to the agent thing, did you kind of feel like you're begging to be taken in? You know, please, make money off me.
I didn't feel like that. What I was hoping was, at the very least, they'd be entertained. Although, now that you brought up the prostitute thing, that totally brings up something else that was on my mind. Thanks.
Let's go there. Please, that sounds much more interesting than my question.
Oh, I hardly doubt that. Hardly doubt that. So my husband and I were talking about being freelance hoes earlier.
Nice. Gardeners everywhere will be excited to see you.
But ching.
Oh, you are just awful with the puns right now.
That was a 12-carat joke right there. Woo! Okay, we can stop. Been there, done that.
Where's my Rimshot app when I need it?
I don't know, but let us alone. We'll move on. I can do this all night till somebody throws tomatoes. So let's go. You were saying either go on about hoes or go on about agents. Or tomato.
That gets me, because they say tomato over here. I always feel a little out of place when I say tomato. I go order a Whopper, no tomato, and they come back, no tomato. Trying to correct my English.
That's okay. Then you can ask them to wrap it in aluminum foil. You're going to take it and put it in the trunk of your car and go use the bathroom. They'll just be correcting you all day long. Aluminium boot, Lou.
Yeah, that would probably not go over well. That is the thing about living here, though. My husband or I will hear a word every day and say to each other, "Did you take your vitamins? How's your computer processor?"
Though, actually, I do enjoy some of their pronunciation. You know, speaking of tomato, though, I love to put that in print. When I'm typing to someone, I love to put tomato, because when you read it, you know.
And I just enjoy listening to the folks here, because I think most people find British accents very attractive. And most Americans, anyway, tend to find them very attractive. So I really enjoy listening to people talk around me.
It would be, considering how many Americans do enjoy the British, Irish, or Scottish accents, it would be a joy to be people watching there, or people listening, as the case may be. It always reminds me of Love Actually, the movie, where they have the one British guy come to the U.S. and he's just surrounded by American college-age co-eds who's just dazzled, and they're like, "Say this!" And they'll point at the table, and he's like, "Table," and they're like, "Ah, table!"
Oh gosh, I remember that scene. Hated the movie, but I remember the scene.
I love the movie. Most people didn't like the movie because Liam turned in to be not Liam, I'm sorry, Alan Rickman turned out to be, at least emotionally cheating on his wife, so.
You've got me thinking about Professor Snape, and now you've got me thinking about Harry Potter, and now you've got me going back to Steampunk plus Harry Potter. What would that look like?
That would be pretty awesome.
Be fun. Now I'm going to go look that up.
I imagine that the wands, you could do a lot with the wands. I guess for accoutrement, though, you're not going to have a lot of stuff that really shows because everybody's in black robes unless you want to do, brass rimmed glasses.
Well, I'll let you two go ahead and steampunkify everything, and I'll think about what I would do to Professor Snape.
Oh, yeah. It's, I have a friend who has some fan fiction. If you want, I can forward it over to you.
Oh, well, come the end of the year, I'm going to be doing nothing but putting my feet up and waiting for, the baby to be born, so I could use some extra reading material.
Well, that extra reading material just might frustrate you if you're not doing anything but putting your feet up.
Oh, I'm sure that the feet don't need to stay together the entire time. But I'll try to behave, though.
Nice.
It's your show.
It's, I do mark it as explicit for every episode, figuring just in case we get a little off the wire. It's okay. It's a grown-up show.
That's good. I have a tendency to say inappropriate things.
Everything I'm finding for Steampunk Harry Potter all involves snitch jewelry, which is not very steampunk at all.
No, I could definitely see... the whole Harry Potter thing lends itself just because of the era, even though it's a modern era. They are still kind of somewhere between the 16th and 18th century technology in the buildings themselves, in that they don't use gas or electric.
Sorting hat.
Well, now they need to do something with the brooms. The brooms would...
Oh, there you go.
Plenty of opportunities.
Yeah.
What's a steampunk sorting hat look like? I mean, did they just glue gears on it, or is it something a little more creative?
Oh, hold on, let me find the image again. It's he's wrapped in a little more... He's got some chains on him, and they put a frilly flower. That is not a flower. That would be a peacock feather. And an extra little buckle on him, and his eyes are holding gears in.
Without us seeing it, do you feel it's steampunked, or just has gears glued on it?
It's not that great. I'm not going to post that picture.
Okay.
Though I'm sure you could do a much better steampunk.
It'd be if you made it out of leather instead of black felt or black cloth. Yeah, you could probably do it that way and do it out of leather and make it pretty good. Put some stenciling or stamps on it or whatnot.
And also, if you think about how Hogwarts operates, what with the paintings as passageways, and the stairs always changing, there's a lot of potential for them to actually get really creative if folks who are fans of steampunk and fans of Harry Potter want to mesh the two somehow. There's a lot of potential there.
Definitely. Now, what else can we get into? I know there was a role-playing game out there called Space 1899. Which was steampunk in space. If you remember from the late 70s, Space 1999, it was a TV series that was on. Well, they converted to 1899 and did steampunk stuff with it. So, but going into mainstream, we've all seen Star Wars steampunked out, mentioning steampunk Boba Fett earlier. And I think that's been done quite a bit. So what other subgenres can be blended in? What do you guys think?
Transformers goes really well. All the steam-powered vehicles,
Definitely.
into being giant robots that are, steam-powered. Huh.
I don't know if you can really make an outfit like that, though. Though I have seen a few people actually do Transformer outfits, so I guess you could.
Oh, I'm sure you could. It would take some creative genius, but,
Oh, I'm out.
Oh, someone did a steampunk canine from Doctor Who.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good stuff there. It almost feels like he should be on wheels then, huh?
Yes.
So what do you think, Wendy? Where else do you think, what about like steampunk superheroes?
I was actually thinking that exact thing. I was sitting here thinking DC Comics, Marvel Comics. What could we do with those?
Chris and I have been playing DC Universe Online, which is a superhero game online that's free. And I actually did make up a steampunk superhero there.
I did as well.
And do they superhero around together and save the world?
They do, but that's not the topic, okay? Don't pick on our geek. Actually, are they heroes or villains? Because you can make up either side, and
mine is.
I think mine is a hero.
A hero. I believe yours is a villain. And I just Googled superheroes and comics and steampunk, and there is a comic called Gotham by Gaslight.
Yes, I remember that.
Of Batman. So it's a steampunk Batman.
I think Batman's pretty easy to cross over because it already has this whole kind of goth feel to it anyway. And
I want to say there was another steampunk comic. One of my old roommates used to read it, I feel like.
I'm a big fan of Vertigo comics, Sandman and Death, The High Cost of Living. And I think Vertigo would do probably quite well if they were to cross over some of their characters into any sort of steampunk designer scenario. That would be really, really interesting.
I think considering you're crossing two genres, you're going to already cut your audience significantly, so it's important to hit your bigger things that are more recognizable. What about, you could always do like a steampunk Mario and Luigi.
Yeah.
He's always messing around with stuff. Or a steampunk Samus from Metroid.
I think that would go really well.
Getting into the video games there.
Yeah, it's just, trying to look at the other places. And speaking of video games, most video games have a steampunk element within them somewhere. I know World of Warcraft did, as we already mentioned.
BioShock is pretty much a giant
that is
video game that's absolutely fantastic.
Thief is a steampunk video game. I don't know if anybody remembers Thief because it was older.
I've heard of it, but I never played it.
Yeah, I've never played it. I'll have to look into that.
I believe you require Windows 98 to play the original Thief. Unfortunately, my husband has to dual boot to play Thief.
Let's see, what else do we have for mainstream stuff? We already mentioned the Star Trek thing. I'm still stuck on that tricorder. That was a beautiful little thing there.
So I thought you'd be stuck on the corset.
The corset I want to take off, the tricorder I want to play with. The corset I want to take off and play with what's beyond. Speaking of steampunk stuff and time travel, do you know what yesterday was?
I do not. What was yesterday?
The day Marty McFly arrived from the past.
Oh.
October 14th, 2012.
Are we sure of that? Because sometimes I've seen things saying, oh, it's this day, it's that.
Well, to quote my source and just put it out there, I saw a picture on Facebook of the readout from the movie. So, they couldn't have photoshopped that, right?
I've seen other readouts that were inaccurate, though. That's what gets me. So I'm never quite sure. It's been a long time since I saw the movie, I must admit. I killed your buzz.
It was 2015.
No, see, it's 2015. Huh. Are you looking it up, Chris, or should I look it up?
Well, that's what it says on IMDb.
2015?
Like in the synopsis, after visiting 2015, Marty McFly must repeat his visit to 1955. I don't think that's right, though. I think you're right with 2012. Telephone.
Sorry about that. I forgot to turn that off before the show.
Wah wah.
I know.
So let's do images and see if we can't pull up the movie.
So let's see here. What else can we steampunk out? Of course, you could always do medieval fantasy or even Roman era, because it's possible to travel through time with steampunk, so why not have somebody from a past era come forward?
Then it will turn into Bill and Ted's Excellent Steampunk Adventure, and next thing you know, we'll be listening to orations from people that we don't understand, and it will be really good.
October 21st, 2015. So we got another couple of years.
I feel like a sucker. Thank you for looking it up, proving me wrong.
That's what I'm here for.
You're here to prove him wrong?
On occasion, yes.
When necessary. What other big shows do we have that go on and on and on, that aren't vampires, because they were around during the proper era? So I think without just going straight into sci-fi and looking at Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica, and all those shows, or of course going into pre-Victorian era and bringing it forward, I guess there's comic books and video games. I'm sure there's a lot of creative people that can come up with a ton of things for that.
You could probably share some interesting pictures of those things, too.
Have you seen the Steampunk Iron Man?
I have, and that was really awesome. That was very awesome. Wendy, though, I think we're going to let you head off to bed because it's very late there.
It is. It's just, I think the only thing up at this time of, morning, besides me, might be, I don't know, crickets, possibly? Maybe they're sleeping. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing what you two come up with with your merging of steampunk and other things out there for the other part of the show.
This has been very interesting, but anyhow, Wendy, thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find your books? Do you have a website? Do you have a Facebook page? Where can they go?
All right. Well, I do have a Facebook page, and that's, let me just pull it up because I can't remember if it includes my middle initial or not. I can pull up my site as well. And the Facebook is just facebook.com, of course, / Wendy L. Callahan. And then there's my blog, which is wendycallahan.blogspot.com. I'm hoping to go to a regular domain name one of these days. I've just been really lazy about it. And then, of course, the books are available on Barnes & Noble and Amazon. I believe Apple and Kobo, which aren't quite as popular as Noble and Amazon, but they're out there and all those channels because the publishers put them out there.
And on your blog and your Facebook page, do you have links to these places, or at least the names of your books so people can look them up?
I do.
Excellent. Thank you again, Wendy. Appreciate you joining us for this, and you have a great night.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining author Travis I. Sivart and the other writers, content creators, and all-around amazing people for our discussion here on Right Night. Join us again soon, and until you do, make sure you create with passion, enjoy the journey, and remember, every night can be right night.